Yes, okay. Um, I would like to start off with something that's pretty cool. That's the most, I think it's the most interesting function of Alexa. So, Alexa, tell me a joke about Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris has already been to Mars. That's why there are no signs of life.
That's, that's the best function of Alexa. We're not going to talk about that today. Today will be mostly about how you can create your own Alexa skill. As Martijn mentioned, I'm Amer. I'm the technical team lead at Tevreden. Tevreden is a research company, and we do all kinds of satisfaction research, and mostly online. So, as I just demonstrated, the human voice is actually something that's extremely powerful. We communicate every day without even thinking about that we are using our voice. But the interesting thing is now that you can interact with something that's not a living being, but is answering something that you are talking about. And I would like to further note that the Alexa skills that you create can benefit from your voice and how you talk to them. So let's talk about Alexa skills. So what are Alexa skills? Alexa skills are made of intents, and the intent is a phrase. So for example, ask or begin or launch, and then an invocation, and in the invocation you'll later see what that is exactly, but that will probably be the name of your app or whatever you want to talk to. And then the action, so something that's, for example, that could be a status update or whatever. So after you create your intents, you're going to map them to functions. And that's something that I will show in the demo. But of course, something that you ask Alexa should be done, so that's where the functions come in. You can choose between Lambda or HTTPS, so whether you host your Alexa skill yourself or you take a Lambda function, you can choose. I will be using the HTTPS function just to make it easier for everyone to understand. And to make those functions work, I'm going to use Flask Ask. Maybe some of you already know Flask. Hands up if you know Flask. That's a lot of people, so that's nice. But this is a kind of a fork on Flask, so you'll be seeing some things that are pretty similar to Flask, but are specifically made to make an Alexa skill. Also, I'll be using Zappa, which is a deployment tool which will deploy the Flask Ask application to Lambda and create an API gateway. And also AWS S3, we're going to use that for hosting the function. So it will create a zip, put it on S3, and then execute it. Sorry, yeah.
You are going to use HTTP, not Lambda.
Yeah, I'm going to tell how that's different in this case. So AWS Lambda, I'm still going to use it, but behind an API gateway. So that's the reason why I'm just saying that we're going to use HTTPS in this case. And of course, as I said, there is AWS API gateway, which is a gateway to your Lambda functions that you create. So I'm going to start off with a very simple example. That's just the hello example. I'll be telling Alexa to do something, and it will give me a phrase back. How this will work is actually the following. So this is my Flask Ask application. Everybody can see it, right? Yes? Okay, so we're starting at the top. This is just the function and the intent you're going to make. And then there's a very simple message, hello there, AWS Meetup. And it will return that statement. So when we have this, it will automatically return that statement when I call the Alexa skill in this case. So what we need to do is deploy it actually, and that's something that we can do with Zappa. Just to go back, Zappa is actually a deployment tool to deploy these kinds of applications to Lambda. there is a file, for example, just to have the settings. So one of the settings is actually that I need extra permissions for a demo later on, which will use recognition, but also where the zip has to be sent to which S3 bucket, and also how the app is called. So in my case, it's alexa.py, so in this case, it will be alexa.app. So we're going to deploy it, and it's easy as Zappa deploy prod. And why is it prod? It's because I've called this environment that way. So what it's actually going to do now is actually make a zip of the whole folder that I have right now, and it will send it to, it will download and install dependencies, but after that it will send it to S3, create a Lambda function, and also create an API gateway. So as you can see, it created the zip for the whole folder. It will create a kind of, yeah, it's a JSON just to create the whole stack. And also this, after this is done, it will give me a URL that I can call from my Alexa skill. So this is my URL. I will just copy this one because I'm going to use it in my skill. So when you are using Alexa, you have the developer portal in which you can set up some things for this skill. So we're going to have the Hello World skill, which I've created before. And as you can see, I don't know if everybody can see that, but we'll do it like this. So this is the invocation that I was talking about. So what I'll be doing is saying, Alexa, ask hello world, and then a phrase behind that to actually call the skill and the function on my Lambda and API gateway. After that, you have to create an interaction model. Well, this is just a very simple one. It's the hello world intent. That's the only intent that I have right now. And also a sample utterance. So that's the combination of a hello world intent and then the action behind it. So it will be ask hello world to say hello in this case. After that, I have to pick HTTPS. You could use AWS Lambda function directly. You could do that. I chose to do it a different way, but it's whatever your preference is. I'm going to paste the URL that I got from the deployment. This is just SSL certificate. You have to pick a subdomain. And after that, you get to the test environment. So what I can do here is actually say, ask hello world to say hello. This is actually a cool thing to just test it without calling Alexa the whole time and then simply going mad because you have to try it like 10 times or something like that. So when I do this, it will give me a request. It will show what the request was and also what my response would be. I can even listen to it if I want to, but I'm going to do it on the Echo itself. So I'm going to test it right now. Alexa, ask hello world to say hello.
Hello there, AWS Meetup.
That's it. The demo gods favor me today. So this is a really simple example. After that, I was thinking about, okay, what are the things that we can do with it right now which would benefit us? The example I'm going to show next is actually talking to an API that's external, in this case SendGrid, because we use SendGrid to send all our mails. So let's get to that example right now. And it's really easy to actually make that extra function. I'm going to take this function as well, but that's the next example. So we'll just paste it below it. But just to clarify what this is going to do, it's actually going to set the variables at the top, do a request to the SendGrid API, load the content, and then return all the metrics. And then it will do a render template. That's that's a mechanism that's also used in Flask, if for the people that already use Flask. And in this case, it will just show that we have the templates.yaml file. For example, it will say we have delivered, and then this much emails today, and then the next phrase. So I just added that, so let's deploy it again. In this case, I don't have to deploy it. I can just say Zappa update and then prod. It will do the same thing. It will create another zip file of this directory, update my function, and that's going to be it in this case, because the API gateway is already there. So it will update it, deploying again, and it will have the same URL. So I'm going to copy paste that URL again because I'm going to need it in my Alexa skill in this case. I did say Alexa, but not now. So we're going to do the SendGrid statistics because I want to know how many emails I sent today. And as you can see in this interaction model, I have a little bit more things. So I'm going to say, for example, ask SendGrid for information. If I want to add new phrases, I can just take this, for example, for my examples, and copy paste it here. Oh, sorry, that's for a later demo. So I don't have to change this. So let's try again. Alexa, ask SendGrid for information.
We have delivered 11,473 mails today. The amount of mails opened is 4,764, and 2,063 people clicked on the link.
So this is something that you could use in a real-life environment that you are using for your team, and you want to see, okay, how many emails did I send today? Or you could do it in a case of my next example. We have a lot of cron jobs running. We want to see if all the cron jobs ran. We are using health checks, in this case, healthchecks.io. I don't know if, does everyone know what that is? Have you ever used it? It's actually, when you run a cron job, you can set up all the cron jobs in their interface. They will give you a link. At the end of your cron job, you just curl that link, or you get that link, and it will say, okay, the cron job was okay. So that's in basic terms what health checks does. So we already deployed it, so we just need to put in the URL. So we have cron job status. Paste it in, just save it. Didn't paste it correctly, so let's do that again. So save. Okay, so we're going to try it again. Alexa, ask cron if everything is okay.
All of the cron jobs ran successfully.
So if there is some cron job that is not working at the moment, it will say, of course, there is some problem with the cron job, and then we have to check. And then I was starting to think, okay, this is pretty cool, but what can I do that's going to involve even more services of AWS? So I thought I'm going to use recognition. Has someone used recognition before? Anybody in the room? For analyzing images? No? Then we're going to show you what one of the things is. What one of the things is what the Amazon recognition can do. So this is a little bit more complicated, but it's pretty easy in the sense that it does the same thing. It goes to Lambda, but in this case, it doesn't call external API. It will check on S3 in a particular bucket what the last image was that I uploaded. It will push it through recognition, which has a function to recognize celebrities, and then push the answer back to the function and then back to the skill. So let's do that one right now. pasting this. Just update the environment again.
Just a small question.
Yeah, sure. It's the same way that you set up your AWS credentials for your CLI as well. So it's just the credentials file that you have in your .aws folder, in this case. This is going to work. So I'm going to take my last one. Okay. I have my S3 bucket right here. There's nothing in there right now. So I'm going to add one example. Beyonce, everybody knows her. Pretty famous, I heard, but let's see. So we updated this. So I'm going to say, Alexa, ask Analyzer to analyze my image.
The newest image you uploaded is a picture of Beyonce.
So that's pretty cool. I've done it with other celebrities before, also Dutch celebrities. For some reason, if I upload René Vroger, I don't know if everybody knows René Vroger, but it gives me a totally different person. I don't know who that is, but he does look like him, so that's a positive thing. But for example, as I said with the utterances, I'm going to add 2 of them because I want to make it even easier to call it. So I'm just going to add it to here. What it will do is actually start to build my Alexa skill that takes maybe half a minute, even less than that. So what I did was added 2 utterances that I can use as well. So I can say, ask Analyzer who is in the image instead of to analyze my image or whatever. So that's being built. It's actually updated it right now. So I'm going to take a new picture because Beyonce is pretty obvious. So I'm going to take Gunther. Does everybody know Gunther? No. He's actually pretty famous in Austria, I think it was, or Germany or something like that. So I'm going to upload him. He's actually not that famous, so if it knows this, it will probably be cool. Alexa, ask Analyzer who is in the picture.
The newest image you uploaded is a picture of Gunther.
Well, he does know it. And even cooler, we have Gordon. For the Dutch people among us, everybody knows Gordon. We're going to try that again.
Can you give the picture another name?
I can't do that. I can't do that. Okay, I'm not cheating, but it's really doing it. So I'm going to delete this one. I know you don't trust me, but it's okay. Let's see. So it's downloads. I'm going to do Gordon, as I said. I'm going to call it, what's your name, sir? Marcel. So I'm going to call it marcel.jpg. So I'm going to do that. It doesn't look like you for some reason, but yeah, but it's going to take the last one. So it's going to take the last one that I uploaded. So Alexa, ask Analyzer to analyze my image.
The newest image you uploaded is a picture of Gordon Hukaroff.
That's actually him. So that's pretty cool, and I think that's just a few of the applications you can do with Alexa. As we are doing satisfaction research every day, I also looked into, okay, how can we use it to do actually a satisfaction research? That's not working right now because although Alexa can do a lot of stuff, having a real conversation with it, it's pretty tricky to get working. So, for example, that would be, okay, Alexa start evaluation. In that case, it would say, okay, thank you for shopping with us or whatever. Can you please give us a rating? You give a rating. Then, for example, the next question could be, okay, how would you recommend us to your friends? Give us a rating from 1 to 10. That's not working right now, and that's something that probably we'll get to as they progress Alexa. There is one gotcha in this case. There is no support in the Netherlands. You can also not buy this in the Netherlands, but it will eventually come here as well. I bought it through a reseller for everybody that's thinking how I got this. And the thing is that you can notice that it's not supported in the sense that when you set up Alexa for the first time, you have to set it up. Of course, you set up the Wi-Fi, but you need the Alexa app, for example. If you go to the App Store, there is no Alexa app because it's geo-fenced in this case. So there is a way around it, and that's actually it's actually alexa.amazon.com. You can log in there and set up the whole Wi-Fi thing through the browser in this case.
You can actually download the app from the Amazon App Store.
Yeah, that's on Android it works. So on Android you can do it because you can also download just the APK in this case.
Really dumb, but
Yeah, it's really dumb to do, but you could do that. On the iPhone, it's a little bit more tricky. You can do it as well, but it takes a lot more steps to get it working in this case. So that's a little bit about Alexa. There is something that still bothers me when I try to talk to Alexa. It's still a bit awkward. So it's still a bit awkward to talk to an object that's not living and get a response in this case. Everybody that has tried Siri or whatever on their phone will notice that it's a bit awkward to do it in public. I'm not going to do it while I'm sitting at my desk saying, "Oh, Alexa, how many emails did I send today?" People will be looking at me crazy, like, "Who is Alexa in this case?" But that's something that I've noticed while trying this thing. Maybe it will become more and more embedded in our society that we can talk to stuff like this, and maybe it will become something that's from Iron Man, so we can say, "Do my dishes" or something like that. That would be really fun. But in this case, there is a limited there's limited things that you can do with it, but there are also things that are pretty cool, as you saw in this case. And that's actually it. Except for the thing that I said, there is a potential. So there is a potential for this being used in the real world, but at the moment, not yet, in my case. That was it for my presentation today. These are my contact details if you want to contact me, ask me or about Alexa or other stuff. It could be about ponies or unicorns, but I don't know much about that. But feel free to contact me, and I would like to thank you for your being here and also listening to this talk. Thank you. We have time for questions, right? You, sir.
Where did you specify the Lambda and the API give the configuration with Zappa because I didn't see any?
So, yeah. Yeah, just repeat the question. Oh, sorry. You asked where the settings were, right, for the Lambda functions and stuff like that. So that's actually, you don't have to set it up. So it does that automatically for you. You have the settings that you have for the deployment. When it deploys that, it will just give it the name of the folder that it's in and also use the zip that you provided.
What happens if you have like smaller amount of RAM and it just is that one?
Well, in this case, it won't because it's really small. Of course, there's no this. Yeah, it doesn't. It just does that automatically for you. You don't have to think about that in that case. So there is no settings in that case that you want to say, okay, I want to have 512 megabytes of RAM, for example, which is the limit for Lambda. But in this case, you don't really need it. You can check out Zappa on GitHub. They actually have all the settings there, so I can just show it to you as well. So Yeah, so the things that you have in your Flask ask, so yeah, they create the routes automatically in this case. So you can see that there are a lot of settings that you can set in Zappa, but most of the things are already default on, so you don't have to change that. So does that answer your question in this case? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Other questions? You, sir.
Yeah, so you've shown a couple of actions you configured with Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all static actions, not parameterized.
Yeah.
How hard is it to set it up where you can say, analyze a picture named Marcel?
Yeah, actually you can do that. I have tried it before with the example that I mentioned. So the example that I mentioned was, okay, you gave a rating for in this case. So I said an 8. So it will take the 8 and create that as a rating and also make a variable of that you can use in later stages. So it can do that. So if you look at the Alexa slots, so you have the custom interaction model reference, that's the whole thing, but you can have, I think it's here, there was an example with age. But you can see it here as well. So you can have variable utterances as well. So you can say, okay, I want to do arrived or update text in this case. But there are multiple options to doing that. You can create slots that can be used in Flask Ask again. So for example, as I said, age, you can ask someone for the age. You say, I'm 21, for example. It will take that and you can use it later on. So yeah, yes, you can parameterize what your response is in this case. So yeah.
In the definition of the action,
Yeah.
You listed all the different combinations,
Mm-hmm.
the synonyms that you can use.
Yeah.
Is there a more powerful way to define a kind of grammar or a...
Not really. Not really in this case. As I said, you can create multiple. You can do that, but you still need to put it in yourself in this case. So you still have to give all the options, and that's what you're referring to. Is there a way to do, for example, 10 at once, because you want to, for example, you need I am this one or I'm. Or that's what you're referring to, right? No, you still need to put them here, or otherwise it won't recognize it. So that's one of the things that I'm saying, that it's not production ready in that sense, because it doesn't take that smart part in there. So
I just found the project on GitHub, Alexa utterances, which you will give it a template string and you
okay.
Expand it. Like you can give it ranges, or you can have like one sentence with the part that has multiple different parts.
Yeah. So, but you still need to supply it yourself.
Expand it with.
Or expand it. Yeah. Yeah.
So the question is that, is there a maximum number of utterances that we can provide?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I didn't try it, but I think we can look that up, of course. What would an engineer be without Google in this case? But Alexa. That's the limit, actually. Yeah, limit. It's a file limit. Number of slots limit. That's not what I want. Yeah, I would have to look that up, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many it is. I've tried it with.
Possibly many.
Yeah, I've tried it with more than 10.
You haven't reached the limit.
Yeah, I haven't reached the limit. I think I wouldn't reach the limit that easily, especially because you can do, as I said, you can make multiple placeholders, for example. So you can say, you can actually say image and then an sign and then a picture or whatever. So you can work with that, and you will probably have less of the utterances in this case. But good point. Good point.
The latency time that we have between your asking and Alexa
Yeah.
Depends from the complexity here or just the latency on the...
Yeah, it's latency between the network in this case because it will actually go to that API gateway. That's also a reason because in the configuration you can set a geographical region endpoint. So you can say for Europe, I want to change my endpoint to something else because if someone is in Europe, you don't want the latency to be that high. So it's mostly network latency in this case, and also a little bit of asking the API, the other API, what the result is, and that's.
So it's not the elaboration of the voice.
No, not in this case. It's just the part that, of course, you have the application that's doing something that takes a little bit of time because we need to call another API. It will have the result and then push it back. But also as I said, the latency between Alexa and actually the API gateway that you are using. So yes.
Is there a reason why you use the less?
Yeah, firstly because I like Python. That's one reason. Also, I looked into creating it myself. It became too complex in that sense that if I want to explain it to someone, it's too hard to explain that. And if you used Flask before, you'll probably get it right away. So you'll get it. Okay, this is an intent. It will be mapped to that, and then you know what you are doing. But you could use, of course, you can use it to write it yourself. They have the SDK for Node.js, for example, and stuff like that. But that's a lot more complex to create something that I just want to boot up and have a simple Alexa skill in this case. So it's speed and also complexity of setting up. That's the main reason why I chose it. And also because it looks like Flask, it's easier to explain in a presentation setting as well. So that's the reason. Other questions? Sir.
The Flask Ask is a different thing from Ask, from Flask.
Yeah.
Can they work together?
I haven't tried that, but you could do it, but it wouldn't probably be in the same Lambda function that you're creating. It would probably be something that you boot up differently. So you have on the one hand you have the Flask Ask, and on the other hand you would have the Flask, and they would connect to each other. I don't think they can coexist in one space because also Zappa asks for your, as you said, the app endpoint. So in that case, it will just boot up one of the two. It couldn't do both. Yeah, there's a conflict there. Yeah. So that's not going to work, I think, in the same space. Maybe it does, but I don't think it would. Sorry. Oh yeah, I go back. Yes. Yeah. Other questions?
Which one you prefer? The render or reality?
Well, actually, this is something that started as a hobby, but I do next to Tevreden, which is actually provide hosting services to companies and also help with Amazon setup and stuff like that. So I like both. I cannot say. No, I'm not Spanish. It's just a cool domain handle, to be honest. So no, but I like them both. I cannot pick between one or the other. Yeah, it would probably be something like that. Yeah, I don't have children, but that would probably feel the same way, I think. Someone else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We have a short break right now, right?
Just a couple of minutes.
Okay, we can have something to drink and.